Welcome, we're the Not Just Words team. In this video, we're introducing the series of informational tutorials on grounding and self-regulation techniques. Here we have Tiffany Guthrie, LPC, and Ian Guthrie, LPC, who will be guiding you through the development of these skills. Before we get started, let's answer the question, do people really need to be self-regulated? And what exactly does that mean?
That's a really good question. We often hear people asking us, why do I respond in certain ways? Thinking back on things and saying, I don't know why I did that. Why can I just not get motivated? I just want to feel better. Those are very common comments and questions that we get as therapists all of the time.
Right. And so in order to better learn to ground ourselves and regulate our emotions, we need to understand what emotions are and what purpose they serve. From an evolutionary psychological perspective, we can understand that our emotions were at one point necessary for survival. And so I often encourage my clients to think about a caveman leaving his cave, and he encounters a saber-toothed tiger. And if he had to think through that situation, if he had to evaluate what was in front of him, determine if it was a threat or not, and how he should respond, he'd die. But because he has evolved emotional responses, he reacts instead. And so that's the basis of our emotions now. They are behavioral shorthand so that we don't have to think about how to act. We just know how to act. So they're based on ideas and preconceptions that we have about the world and how we want to interact with the world. They are not always beliefs that we are consciously aware of in the moment, but they are ingrained in us, whether instinctually, genetically, or based on experiences that we've had previously. And the unfortunate thing about our emotions is that they haven't evolved much over the how many thousands of years humans have been alive, but our environment has significantly changed. So we don't have saber-toothed tigers anymore. We have 3 p.m. phone calls. We have going to Walmart. We have dealing with our spouses or our children or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, difficult conversations, all of that. Yeah, absolutely. But the thing that remains the same is that the emotions do have important information for us, and it's important to pay attention to that information for sure, and to learn how to, as a result of what we know, to learn how to regulate those emotions so that we aren't always making decisions based on these quick emotions and flashes of information from the past and based on previous experiences. Sometimes we just want to be able to actually make an intentional decision about
Right.
how to act and respond.
Right. And the calmer that we can get ourselves in the moment, the better we are to change the belief systems that we have, which can lead to greater, more substantial changes in our lives than just addressing a single instance.
Yeah, I mean, we then are taking the opportunity to really focus on changing what we can in these scenarios. In these situations, we are looking at ourselves, at the ways that we feel and we think and we behave, and we are intentionally adjusting those things, managing them. And when we do that, we're able to make intentional decisions, and we don't have to then look back later on and say, why in the world did I do that? Or why in the world do I always do that? We're making those decisions in an intentional way. And our choices then are much more satisfactory to ourselves, and tend to make life a lot easier too.
Mm-hmm.
The decrease of impulsivity leads to a lot less regret in the way that we respond and behave in our circumstances through daily life, in our relationships in our daily life.
Mm-hmm.
So focusing on self, this is the thing that we can change. And that's why we're showing all of these skills, because that will allow us to adjust ourselves. And I'm sure many of us have tried to manipulate or adjust other people or adjust circumstances that are outside of our control, right? And that doesn't work real well. The best way to impact your life is to adjust yourself.
Right. I always tell my clients there are two things that you can control in life: what you think and how you act. Everything else is outside of your control. And so wouldn't it be so much better to focus our attention on the things that we can control and actually get somewhere than to put all of our energy into doing things that it's not going to impact anyway?
Right. And so that attitude really does actually pull us out of something that has been experienced as a victim state. When we feel like everything is out of control, and when our emotions are out of control or circumstances are out of control, and we can't certainly control other people, we are stuck in being a victim and being victimized by the relationships in our life and the circumstances that we experience. And so when we are stuck in that victim stance, it's frustrating, we're trapped, and the anxiety levels, as well as just the hopelessness and despair that one can feel. I think this is one of the things that really leads to a lot of experience of not only anxiety, but depression in our culture today too. So, and so but when we realize that we have the ability to control ourselves and to be able to impact the circumstances and the people around us by the way that we respond, by controlling our emotions, by making intentional decisions and choosing how to be in any of these circumstances, when we realize that, that is such an empowering thought. And it is such an empowering ability to be able to rise above circumstances and interactions to do what we feel is correct and to live intentionally.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives us a center, a more grounded state. There's a quote by G.K. Chesterton that I'm quite fond of. It says something to the effect of, what man fears the most is a maze with no center. And so what we're hoping to teach in this series is how to provide yourself with that center, to ground yourself and give yourself something that you can tangibly interact with, and move forward with in greater degrees of control.
Yeah, certainly. And so yes, we have developed or pulled together a lot of different techniques from years of study and reading a lot of different individuals who have done a lot of really important work in the area of self-regulation and emotions. And so we have kind of brought together all of that information, and we want to be able then to share that with you. So what you will see in this series are a lot of little videos that will guide you through specific techniques. Okay, so we've got this large introduction right now, and then you will be able to just take a look at these techniques at your leisure and practice them. One of the things that I always emphasize when I teach techniques like this in my practice is that we need to try things several times and give them a really good shot before we throw them out the window. Okay. Not everything is going to work for everybody, certainly, but these techniques that we've pulled together for you are ones that we have had a great deal of success with over the years. And so they are tried and true. And we do hope that they will make an extremely positive impact in your lives.